Welcome to the Network Marketing Mindset Podcast, where you'll learn how to transform your mindset and achieve massive success in your network marketing business. Here's your host, business mindset coach, Deb Erickson.
My name is Deb Erickson, and I want to welcome you to the Network Marketing Mindset Podcast for Women. I want to welcome you and tell you I've got a great show today, right? I know you guys are always excited to meet those A-level players, right? Those top producers that can come and tell their stories and tell you what they did and how they did it and the journey that they've had. I love interviewing top performing women because I love finding out the unique ways that women approach their business that are really quite different from our men counterparts. And so I'm excited today, but before we jump in, I do want to give a little shout out. My team has pulled a winner from our viewers. And so let me just read this shout out. Hey, Deb, I want to give you a shout out. I want you to know that this information is free to everyone. And wow, you nail it every single time, right? This podcast will blow your mind. It's a must listen. Thank you so much, Kim, for that fun shout out and that fun review. If you guys have not yet gone to Apple Podcasts, if you haven't gone to Google and basically liked and reviewed our podcast, please do that. But I want you also to really grab something to write with. You're going to get some amazing content today from Maria Williams. So let me tell you a little bit about her. Maria is a top performing consultant with LifeVantage. I will tell you that she probably sits in the top 20 to 25 in her company. So, you know, she's a significant leader. She is a woman who, when I first met her, I immediately knew that this was a woman of power and passion and compassion, loved her people, but she was one of those individuals, one of those rare individuals that can really balance the skill set, mindset stuff so beautifully, right? So she understands the difference between what's happening that is really a skill set challenge and what's happening that's a mindset challenge. It's like she knew it before we even had a conversation. And the deeper our conversations have gone, the more I have really just fallen in love with her as a human being, as a woman in our industry, as a leader, as someone that I know is walking the talk. This is what I love most about her, is that she's authentic. She walks the talk. You can see who she is, and her people know it and love it as well. She is a global leader. Maria, would you come and join into the conversation? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you for inviting me on. And I'm so humbled and grateful to be here and to just be able to inspire the women of the world, right? And give them that courage to step into their greatness, because Perfect. That's what this is all about.
It is what it's all about in my mind. So let's jump in. I want everybody to hear a little bit about your story. So you've been in network marketing. Actually, you've been with LifeVantage now for 10 years.
10 years, yes.
So you weren't always a top producer. Tell us kind of a little bit about your story.
No, so my background is human resources. I was in human resources for over 20 some years in the manufacturing industry. So I was in this male, only female, that in any type of leadership, just male dominated, manufacturing plants that I was in for 20 some years. And then in 2009, my whole world changed. The economy was really bad back then, if you can remember. And my husband, it's funny that my husband's job got eliminated. His whole company restructured. And so he looked around and found something here. And we live in Arizona now. And I said, sure, I'll move. But one thing, I'm not working. Because I work 50, 60, 70 hours a week. Never saw my two boys growing up. And I didn't want to have that life here. I was like, if this is my opportunity, like I'm staying home, I'm going to be that stay-at-home mom, right? But I've worked since I was 16 years old, had 2-3 jobs, going to high school, right? So I was always a go-getter. I knew I wanted to do something, but I didn't know exactly what it was. But I was having daily conversations with God about what I did not want. Like, I didn't want to go back into that world of it. I was just super stressed. But I wanted flexibility. All I wanted, whatever I was going to do, was flexible. I didn't know what it was going to look like. And lo and behold, my neighbor comes over and shows me this video, and I was blown away. It just blew my mind, and I wanted to know more about it. And then it turned out to be network marketing. And I fell in love with this industry. I fell in love with how you can help people, with your products, but how you can help people find their greatness, like shine, right? And the women, I have so many women, like network marketing, we have so many women, so many amazing, fantastic women in all different levels and skill sets, right? And that's what I love about this industry, that anybody can come in. Like, I knew nothing, right? I mean, I had, gone to an Amway party when I was in my 20s, and, my aunt did it for a second, just different, I had gone to home parties, but no one ever said that you could make money in network marketing. If somebody had told me, when I was that mom working all those hours, never seeing my kids, if somebody just would have said, hey, you can make a full-time income, and showed me that possibility, I would have stopped and paid attention. But I went, I bought product, and I walked away. And so that could be a tip for someone right there. Just take the time to tell people that you can make some income, whether it's part-time, right? Part-time, full-time, or big time, because you never know where people are at in their lives. So that's how I kind of got involved in this.
Wow. Brilliant. So I want to stop and go back to a few things, because you are speaking my language. So what you are saying is, number one, you might have been ready to come into the industry a lot sooner had anybody, right, reached out and given you the opportunity. But timing is always perfect. I do believe that. And so what I love is that you were in a receptive space. You were saying, you were putting out into the world with your prayers and your intentions and your list making. You were saying, I'm looking, I want something. And it sounds to me like you focused first on what you don't want. I don't want that anymore. And, one of the things I'm always telling people is you got to know your ideal builder. And the most important thing you got to know is their pain points. So you actually made a list of your pain points. I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. I want this. And then when the opportunity showed up, you kind of sold yourself into the system, right? Because it was like,
I was so ready, willing, and able. I mean, when you talked about that the first time, it blew my mind, because I went back and looked, and I'm like, I was the perfect avatar for my neighbor, right? That sponsored me. I was that perfect avatar. I was ready, willing, and able. I totally was. I was so open to listen. I had to just connect with what she was showing me, right? And I did. So yeah, I was that ready, willing, and able. So yeah, when you're building your avatar, those are exactly the things that I was looking for that fit in perfect to someone.
So tell me a little bit about the journey itself. For most people, it isn't a straight path to success. There are bumps and bruises, there are failures, there are disappointments, there are moments when you get stuck. Tell me a little bit about one of the greatest challenges you feel like you've overcome.
Absolutely. It was my mindset. It was my self-doubt, not feeling good enough, right? That when you look at someone that's at the top and, you're starting out, it's like, oh, I can never be on stage. I was petrified of public speaking. Like, normally doing this, oh my goodness, I would have been like days without sleeping. And when you said, I'm like, oh yeah, I got this. So it's amazing how you change and you don't know. And it's amazing what's inside of you that's there and comes out, right? But it definitely was mindset. It definitely, this industry, and I've looked at a lot of different companies, it's easy to do, but it's here. This is where it gets hard, right? The doubt, you're not good enough, you can't do this, you can't lead a team. I think so many women can get so far. And then when it comes to almost about ready to lead a team, they get that first person that gets excited. I think fear sets in that because I know for me, I didn't know that I could could I lead a team? What skill set do I have that I can inspire people, keep them motivated? I didn't see it happening. So definitely it's, you got to fix what's in here. Oh, that is so, so important. And that is one of the things that when I met you, I'm like, why didn't I meet her 10 years ago? Right. Because it's like everything in a box, like you need, it's like, it's all there, like to get us through those difficult times. I always tell people, I'm super honest. Like I don't sugarcoat this, even when I'm with a prospect. I mean, I don't sugarcoat it. Because my first year, there was about 5 times that I wanted to quit. And I remember Carrie like peeling me off the wall. It's like, no, you can do this. You got this, right? But there was 5 significant times that I was ready to like throw in the towel. Like, okay, I will take the product forever, but this is hard, right? I'm not doing this. But I pushed through it, and I kept pushing through it. And it was different tools at the time, whatever I used to push through. And it's like a stepping stone. Like you believe, step 1. Then take the next step. You believe a little bit more. And then you believe a little bit more in yourself, because this is the hardest thing is for us women to believe in ourselves that we can actually do this, that we are worthy to be that leader for someone, right? That is so, I mean, it's hard to get over sometimes, but when you dig and you find the reason or the conversation when you were younger or what happened, I mean, it's in there, and you are the expert of like peeling back the onion in that brain to find out, who said that? Or that happened when you were younger. And it's like, wow, that's what's been holding me back all this time. And let's just smash that and get rid of it and move forward.
You know what I love about your story is what I even as I listen to it today, and I know your story, but when I listen to it, the things that are popping out to me is that, number one, you were ready. You were looking, right? You were open. You wanted something. But then the second part of it is, even though you had no direct training in the industry, right? You were in the office, as a HR specialist, you were a hard worker, unbelievable hours, incredibly professional for sure. You'd elevated in your own company, but you had not necessarily done sales or recruiting. You hadn't stepped into leading an entire team of a volunteer army. I mean, these were all brand new skill sets. So what I'm curious about is, when you looked at the industry and you saw, okay, I have confidence in myself. I'm a professional woman. I'm a hard worker. I've got a great work ethic. I go-getter. I'm doing all that. But this is a totally new set of skills. Can you remember how you closed the gap between those two? How did you do that?
So even though it's a new set of skills, I always believe that whatever people do, that they have certain skills that can be transferred to this business. So for me, the recruiting, I did recruiting, right? So I knew how to interview people. I knew how to talk to people. So that skill set came over. Training. That was probably the one part of my job that I loved the most, was to do training. And that was the least that I did. But in here, in this industry, you're going to train people. You're going to train them how to invite people, how to share this, how to start conversations, right? So the training, so those skill sets transferred over. The one thing I said to my husband when I started is like, because this was the first doubt that came in. So I, signed up and I joined, and then all the doubt starts to come in. I was like, well, I'm not a salesperson. I don't know if I can do this. And he said, Maria, what happens when you find that perfect candidate, right? That you like. When you find you interview 100, through 100 resumes, you're narrowed down to 3 people, you find that one candidate. He said, what's the next thing you do? I said, I tell them how great the company is, how great this area is. If they have a family with kids, I tell them exactly where the schools that are best. I mean, like, I've done all that research, right? Because I want this candidate now. So I've gone all out. And so I sell them on the company, on they can grow with us. I mean, all of that. He's like, that's selling. So he pointed out to me that we are always selling, right? I'll kid around with my team and I'm like, okay, did you have a date? And they're like, oh yeah, we dated. Okay. So didn't you get all dressed up and all shiny and your best foot forward? You're selling yourself in a good way, right? But this we're always selling something, a book we like, a new recipe with friends. We're always sharing. So he's the one who got me over that, that I didn't have that skill set, because I did. I just had to rewire what I used to do and say, well, it's the same thing about this. If I'm passionate about this and I believe in it, well, I can share it with people. I can go tell people about it. So there are skill sets that are transferable. You have to ask the questions. Even a stay-at-home mom, I don't care. If you're raising kids, you've got skill sets. You're negotiating with those kids. You're teaching them. There's stuff that's transferable.
Yeah. What I love about that is your husband used a neurotool on you.
Oh yeah.
He helped you reframe, but that's really important. It's a great conversation, because what most people coming into this industry, they don't have the obvious transferable skill, right? What they were doing before doesn't line up in their mind. And they usually say, well, I've never done that professionally. I don't know how to do that. And what I hear you saying is, wait a minute. If you really go back and look, you can find the skill sets, right, in relationship building and mothering and teaching and training and literally any experience you've had, you can connect the dots and reframe that belief that you don't know what you're doing into understanding, hey, you have the raw material to be successful, right, in this industry. The question is, what are you going to do with it, right? The question is, can you claim your strengths? Right? Can you find out where you need to bolster or add more tools and techniques, right? And can you master your mindset? Can you move past it? So some of what I keep hearing you say is there were doubts here and there were doubts there. What's your favorite way to move past a doubt today? What do you do right here, right now we get past that doubting mind? Does it still show up, by the way? Every once in a while?
It does. That's why I'm working with you. Honestly, I'm trying to get to the last level in our company, right? And we've talked about it a lot. I feel like, when you're at that level, it's like people are perfect, right? Of course, they're not perfect, but you see them as like everything they say is so perfect and they've got it all together. And so it's just that little doubt that, am I good enough to be at that level, right? And so I just have to constantly work on it. Your tools have been, amazing. I was getting a massage the other day, and literally I just taught this to my team. When people don't have time, I said, Deb in your head. You always have Deb in your head. So I was getting a massage, and I'm like, no, I don't want to listen to that music. I'm going to listen to this. And so he's been doing this with me a lot. He's like, okay, what are we listening to today? We're listening to Unshakable Confidence. We're going to have confidence. So he gets into it. And so I'm listening and relaxing, but listening to it. So it's constantly, because unfortunately that's where our minds go, right? No matter, we always find that one little thing, right? Like I'll hear someone present or speak and I'm like, wow, they're so amazing. And then automatically I'm thinking, wow, can I do that? Can I deliver that way, right? And I would think by now it would be gone, but I don't know why. It just always slips in. And so I got to nip it right away. I see your stop sign go up, like stop, Maria. And yep, that's it. It's stop. And you've got to, you said something the other day that it was brilliant. It's so simple, but it was, don't we eat every day? And it's like, yes, of course we eat every day. So our brains need to be fed every day because unfortunately there is a lot of negative, right? There's a lot of negative around us. So we have to shift it away from the negative and shift it to the positive continually, right? And even when you're building this business, you're always getting no's that people aren't interested, or you get someone that signs up and is excited and then they're gone. Like, where did they go? What happened? They were so excited. And so that gets you down, right? Did I do the right things? Did I not, right? So you have to constantly feed your brain the positive stuff. You have to, you got to keep growing. And I think we have to keep growing that positive mindset because it can easily slip back down. It does. You can easily, stuff can get in there and then you're back down, not believing in yourself. So to me, It's every day. Deb, you're in my head. I'm listening to you. I change it around whatever I need to excite me. And so it's key. You have to be working on your mindset. I mean, that is something that you're not going to do it once and it's done. I don't think so. I think, throughout my career, I have always been into personal development. And so it is important that you have to keep working on it.
You know what I love about you, I always love about you, is that you are so transparent about everything. And I love that because I do think, and I watch this all the time, that women who come into this industry, you're right, they do the natural thing, which is their brain compares. And the brain says, I'm here, she's up there. I watched Maria the other day and she's up here. And so then we talk ourselves out of it because it's we see or we assume there's the gap. And what we forget is, hey, we both have brains. And those brains are wired very similarly, right? Women's brains are wired to avoid threat, right? To question themselves, to see themselves in comparison. There's certain things that are just, I'm going to call it natural to a female mind. And so when we have a doubt and we say, oh, I'm different, I can't do it, look at her, she's amazing, she's on the pedestal, she's unstoppable, we miss one of the most important things, which is, you know what? We are exactly the same. We all have doubts. We all have fears. We all have to become the master of our mindset. And we have to learn how to silence fear. And we have to learn how to move and talk ourselves into the confidence, right? Elevate our own confidence. It's like we all have to deal with society's judgments about the value of women. It's like we all have to do it. And so one of the greatest gifts I think you bring to both my listeners and your team, I've watched you do this with your team, is this understanding, right, that we are all in it together. We all have the same issues. And when you look at a leader, what you're doing is you're looking at a woman who is actively mastering her mindset. Doesn't mean she's the master of her mindset, because quite honestly, I don't know if any of us ever get there and are done, right? But you are actively and consciously dealing with mindset. And I love that, because when people look at you and they realize, hey, you're doing the same work they're doing, then what happens is inside the brain is that people say, well, if Maria can do it, I can do it. I watched her. She talked about her doubts. She talked about her fears. She talked about elevating her why. I watched her go through a process. I listened to her. And there's this sense of, and I guess there's no other way to say it other than if you can do it, I can do it. And the reason that's so important, I'll tell a quick story, is that, I was doing a fire walk with Tony Robbins. And, he'd worked it all up. There was a 40-foot fire walk that night that we were going to be doing. And when I got outside, I thought I was prepared to walk. I thought I had built my confidence and I was ready. And I got outside and I stood next to the fire lines and they were so hot. I mean, my eyebrows singed just standing next to it, and I thought to myself, I lost my confidence in that moment. I thought to myself, no way, this is possible. And 2 seconds later, this big dude goes marching by, obviously not getting burned. What's fascinating is even though he was walking barefoot, just like I was getting ready to walk barefoot, my mind said, oh, wait, he's different. He's a guy. Maybe he has sweaty feet, or, he's faking it, or guys just are tougher, whatever it is. I was going to make an excuse for him. And honestly, I was lying to myself about the fact that we're different and he could do it because ... And then 2 seconds later, the next walker was an elderly woman, had to be in her late 90s, right? All bent over, shuffling through the coals. And as I watched her, my brain kind of exploded. And my brain was like, no more excuses, Deb. No more excuses. What are you going to say? What are you going to say? She has neuropathy and she can't feel it? I mean, you're just making stuff up at this point. And I stood there, and I have to tell you, it was kind of like all the defenses just dropped. And it was like, I just had to accept the fact that it was doable. The question wasn't, could I do it? The question is, would I do it? And what I love about you is that you walk in that glass house where you show the women on your team and the women of the world really what it means to be a true leader, which is not to fake it and act like you're something way above and beyond. Because honestly, it's not that inspiring. It's just not that inspiring to get on Instagram and look at these people who have life experiences that are so far from your life experience. It doesn't really cause you to say, if she can do it, I can do it. What helps you do that is to see somebody work the process, to see an individual be honest and say, here's how I work through my doubts. And these are the doubts I've had. And this is the doubt that came up yesterday. And here's what I did. And I just one more time have to compliment you and tell you, you are an extraordinary leader, because that's exactly how you lead. And I love that you do that so cleanly.
Yeah, I think it's important to be you and to be honest and to be vulnerable, because it's true. When I see someone that does it so polished, so perfect, all I keep saying is, I can't do it. I can't do it. But then I have seen other leaders that weren't so polished, weren't so perfect. Actually, what got me to believe that I could do this was seeing someone that was at this higher level and they weren't that polished. They weren't, and they were like a squirrel everywhere in their presentation. I'm like, oh my goodness, like if they can get to where they've gotten to, then I can do it. So it's so important that people, see where they want to be, but that it's reachable, right? Like I remember the first time I got on stage and had to speak alone, and I told everyone that I was petrified, of this. Like afterwards, I got so many women that came up to me and thanked me for being honest, for being there petrified and say, well, I'm going to do it anyway. They just appreciated that it wasn't this show, right? That, and then they don't see that they can ever get there. Mm-hmm. Like I always mess up my words. I always fumble with something. I always forget. I mean, it just happens, but then they see that how real, and that they can do it, because I know if the women that get into this business, that they can have success. Their journeys are different. It's going to take their time while they're growing, in their business and their mindset and everything. So I know it's possible, but it's so easy to give up. It's the easiest thing to walk away. So you do have to attach your why to something that you're not going to give up on. Like, to me, it was my two boys. And right from the beginning, when I saw that they were paying attention to me, what I was doing, oh, Mom, when are you going to get to level 3? Mom, when are you going to get to 4? Then I'm like, it hit me. It's like, oh, I can't quit. Because I get these 2 kids that I keep telling, right, you can do this. You can, right, don't quit. And then I like, there's no way that I could quit because they were watching me. So attach yourself to something that, or someone that you don't want to disappoint, right? Because then you keep pushing yourself through the obstacles and the challenges. You're going to overcome all of them. You just got to find that tool that it's like, that's it. Whenever I have a day that doesn't go accordingly, I just listen to a tool 2-3 times, and I just get back into the zone. Like we see guys playing football and all kind of sports, right? And they're in a zone. We need to be in that zone. That's the one thing I learned from you is the zone. The zone is, you talk about the flow, like you're in that flow. So, they're in sports, you're in a zone, and this, you're in a flow. Well, how do you get there, right? It starts with the mindset. Like I teach my team now, first thing in the morning, find a tool that you love, find one of Deb's tools and put it in while if you can't have, sit down, you don't have the time to close your eyes and sit down and do it. Then do it while you're getting dressed. It doesn't matter. Listening to it. I said in the car, no radio. Deb, plug Deb in. I know I'm like a grill master on them. Come on, Deb. Because I just know that if we can chip that wall of doubt, right? We can chip at it, make that chip a little bigger and then a little bigger. It'll be like so amazing that they'll see their greatness. They'll believe in their greatness, and then they'll go out and do great stuff.
Brilliant. Brilliant. All right. So we're at that point where we're running out of time, but I want to ask you one last question. It's simply this, if you had to start everything over again, your company went out of business, you had to start over, ground zero. So what would you demand? What would be your number one greatest commitment? How would you start over in order to grow it again? How would you do that?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I kind of go back to, I would have to spend days and days of just, really in my mind and really getting my mindset ready to go through the fire again, right? Like go through, like you talked about going through the Tony Robbins, the walk of fire there. Because I know the no's are going to come, the rejection, all of that. Like as you're saying it, I'm just like kind of, it's coming back. We know it's going to happen. I would do that and increase my level of belief, like 100%. It's knowing that it may not be for this one, but that's okay. Not yet. It's not their time. They're not ready, willing, and able. I would go look for the ready, willing, and able, and poise questions. And as I meet people and talk to people, just look more for those people that are ready, willing, and able. Because it's so easy to get people that are never going to do anything, but I have influence over, that I could sign them up. But I'm going to go to that chicken list. I think I'd go hit my chicken list first this time. Like, hey, I've done it once. I know I can do it again. Are you with me or not? This is the biggest opportunity of a lifetime. So I would go in with that, and I'd probably make that my mantra and just say it over and over again and really, to do it that way.
Yeah. Researchers always say this, that it's not what you say, it's the energy you say it with, right? I used to tell, when I was a sales manager, I've worked for insurance agencies, right? And I had an entire team of insurance agents that worked for me. And I used to say to them, because they were always fighting over the script and memorizing it and saying the right thing and understanding all the numbers. And I used to say to them, it has, sales really has nothing to do with those details. Those can always be delivered later, right? It's the relationship. It's the eye contact, right? It's the heart-to-heart connection. In other words, if people are going to connect first with the energy and later with the details. And by the way, the details we use to validate our decision to get involved, right? So I always knew that if I built the relationship first, the sale was going to come in one fashion or another. Either it was going to be a referral or a direct sale or something. Something good was going to happen if I could build the relationship. And what I think people get lost in is they have to have the perfect script. And it's really like, you have to have the heart, right? You have to have the belief. You have to speak from your heart. You have to tell the truth. You have to walk in your reality. When you do that, everything else comes around. And I see you do that. I see you be just brilliant at that. And I think you're an incredible example in the world of someone walking their talk and believing in who you are and what you have to offer, way more than, anything around fluff and the look of something. I know people are going to feel your heart, and I love that. I love that about you. So thank you for sharing your heart. Thank you for sharing your story. Anything else you want to share before we jump off?
I just want to say a little mantra, slogan, or that I use. I actually made bracelets for my team one time, and my son uses it all the time. Always has it on. So it's be hungry, right? Be hungry. Have a huge desire, burning desire for what you're doing. Be passionate about it. Like when you were just talking, what was coming to my mind is just passion. At the beginning, it was just my pure passion. I didn't know what I was saying, what this was about. It was my pure passion and excitement, right? That's what people got interested and involved. And then it's be grateful. Be grateful through the journey. Be grateful, that you even have the opportunity. Be grateful that you are in this industry, that someone told you about it. Be grateful that you said yes, and just this rampage of being grateful about everything around you. Shift the energy in that direction and everything will start flowing to you. So be hungry, be passionate, and be grateful.
That should be the title of our session today. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, Maria, thank you so much. I am so excited to share your vision and your passion, your humbleness, all of it with the world. So thank you. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to the Network Marketing Mindset Podcast with Deb Erickson. To learn more about Deb's business mindset coaching, classes, memberships, and leadership programs, visit us at ICANinstitute.com. And for free weekly tips and techniques to help you develop and grow your business, join our Facebook community today at facebook.com/groups/network marketing mindset with Deb.